Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. This is your podcast for local news, strategies, and interviews for the real estate market of Greater Vancouver. I'm your host, Cameron Manning, and today in episode 3, we're going to be talking all about how to pick your investment strategy. This is a conversation that I have with a lot of brand new investors, and it's never the same conversation. Everyone kind of thinks that there's one simple solution on getting into real estate, and there's one strategy that works the best. And while that may be true in some markets and depending on certain timing, that's not true for every single person. Each individual's circumstances are definitely different. So whenever someone contacts me and says, I want to invest in real estate, what strategy should you suggest? I always rebuttal with saying, well, we're going to need to sit down and go through some of your personal skill sets, personal time, and all those kinds of things. It's going to lead into picking a strategy that works for you. There's not one set strategy that one person might employ as well. Someone might do 2 or 3 different investment style strategies. But I always recommend to people is to really pare down what it is that they want to get out of real estate and pick one strategy and stick with it. The reason for this is at the end of the day, if you've picked one strategy, you're really going to focus on the nuances of that strategy, and you're going to become a bit of an expert in purchasing, if whether it's fix and flip or just buying rental properties. You're going to become that expert in doing that one task. The reason why this is important is because it's going to allow you to build a strong foundation for your investing career for the future. Now, are you allowed to switch strategies down the road? Absolutely. I've done it several times. But picking one strategy and sticking to it is what you do to create that base and that understanding on how it is to actually invest in real estate, manage properties, manage projects, different things like that. So it's very important to really pare down what that one strategy is going to be for you. Now, how do you pick that strategy? That's really what it boils down to, because a lot of people don't know what it is they want. So when I sit down and I have a consultation with a new investor, I talk about different things that matter to them, at like different things like timeline. So, at what point do you want this, certain amount of real estate? What do you want real estate to do for you? If you've got a job and you absolutely love it, maybe doing a higher active income strategy is maybe not the best because you don't necessarily have time to be able to be as active in the business. Whereas if you pick more of a passive investment strategy, it might be a little better for you because you can do a little bit of work up front, and then you sit back and reap the rewards of the investment building. So again, it's really dependent on who you are as an individual. Another thing we talk about is how fast you want to earn this income. Now, if you're a younger investor, you've got a lot of time, and you've also got the ability to make some mistakes in the long run and still recover from it. So maybe if you're young, you've got time, maybe you've got access to capital, or you maybe got your own capital. Maybe go into some of the higher risk, higher leverage strategies, such as flipping homes or doing rent-to-owns or something like that. Whereas maybe if you're a little older in generations and you're looking closer to retirement, maybe it's a good idea just to add a few properties to your portfolio for the long term. As you get closer to retirement, you're 5, 10, 15 years away, having those rental properties will help create a bit of an income for you on the side, especially when you enter the retirement and start tapping into your pension. But not only that, you're going to start building that equity and as well as any appreciation that you're going to gain during that 5, 10, 15 years that will help to subsidize your retirement as well. So again, it's really boiling down, what is it that you want real estate to do for you? Now, there are several different strategies. I'm going to go into some of the basics of them. But again, you can go into creating your own version of these strategies as well, such as if you want to just buy and rent condos, that's great. You just purchase a condo, put a tenant in place, put them on a year lease, whatever the case might be, and you sit on that thing and let it cash flow. But then at the same time, again, if you're younger, or maybe you want a little bit more of a different style, you want to get creative, you can do what one of my friends, Derek Peaver, does. And Derek actually does furnished rentals with his, but he does it in a way that's so unique that he's actually got not a lot of competition out there in the market. And he's created a business out of renting out these properties as furnished rentals versus just owning rental properties and earning passive income. So it's a very unique way that he has taken a simple strategy and created it as his own. So again, we're going to talk some basics here about the different strategies that you can get into, and from there you can start deciding how you want to create your strategy for investing in real estate. So first strategy is really simple. It's just to buy, rent, and hold your properties, or just purchasing rental properties as it's more commonly called. Really, it's simple. You can purchase condos, townhouses, single detached homes, and really all you're doing is you're buying it, putting a tenant in place, and letting that thing sit with the tenants paying your mortgage down. You're earning cash flow on that property, and if you've purchased in the right market, you're also going to earn appreciation. So those are kind of the three centers of return that you would get on a buy and hold. So again, cash flow, equity, and appreciation. And again, this is a great strategy. I have buy, rent, and hold properties in my own portfolio myself, and these are kind of long-term plays. You're not going to be purchasing a buy, rent, and hold and hope to flip it in a year for a massive profit. Most case scenarios, you're going to hold it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, depending on how long it is till your end goal, what you want it to do for you. Maybe if you want to buy a bunch of condos, hold them for 5 years, let them gain in equity, and then turn around and sell them all. So that way you can turn that money into something bigger. That's a great strategy as well. But again, you got to look at your own personal situation. Whereas maybe if you're closer to retirement, maybe you want to purchase 1 or 2 single family homes that are just going to help you to subsidize that retirement. Again, you have a tenant in place that's paying your mortgage down, they're paying all your expenses, putting money in your pocket every month that you can either put aside or you can utilize it to help subsidize your income and everything like that, as well as you do gain future appreciation if it's in a stable market that's going up. Now, in the long run, houses in Canada have shown on kind of average every 15 to 20 years, property values do double in the area, especially in places in the western regions such as Saskatchewan, Alberta, especially in BC, lower mainland. We actually beat that. In the last 3 years, our property values have almost doubled. So again, this is where you're going to be in the longer hold plays. So be prepared if you're going to buy a rental property. Aim to have it on a 5-year plan with a reassessment in 5 years, whether you sell it, refinance it, or just keep renewing the term. That's really the basics of buy, rent, and hold. So the next strategy let's talk about is buy, fix, and sell, or commonly called flipping properties. Now, this is a bit more of a higher risk strategy. It's also a bit of a higher return strategy as well. When you're purchasing a property that has been run down or is in original condition and could use some updates, there's definitely some upside potential to taking those properties, dumping some money into the renovations into them, and putting it back on the market. We call it a quick turn strategy. So at the end of the day, though, you got to keep in mind that markets do determine how you're going to be successful in this strategy. When you're in a market that's moving, relatively fast, you're going to be able to take these properties and flip them pretty quick for a good return. We've had properties that in the last 3 years that we were able to flip in about 2.5 months, predominantly condos that were generating anywhere from $20,000, $30,000, or $40,000 into these 2 months. So again, your return is quite high because you're not holding these properties for very, very long. On the other side of the coin now, as the market starts to slow down, there is still opportunity for flips, but it has to really make financial sense. So you're really making your money on the buy now versus the market continuing to move. Again, the simplistic part of this strategy is that you purchase a condo or townhouse or a single family home that at current purchase price, or if you negotiate a good price, has room for you to do some renovations, and the after repair value will actually be higher after you've renovated it, so you can turn around and put it back on the market and sell it for a profit. The typical hold time I find on condos and townhouses, you're looking anywhere from, 4 to 5 months typically. Single family homes, you're looking at 6 to 8 months in most good cases. Again, these are not set. It depends on your contractors, how fast you work, or if you need permits. And again, once it's sold, you take that money and you roll it into your next project. So this is a great strategy if someone's wanting to generate some quick cash to be able to increase and maybe buy bigger projects down the road. You can get into condo flips for fairly minimal money, especially if you're buying in places like Chilliwack, where you can still lock down a good 2-bedroom for about $180,000. So not a lot in regards to the actual purchase and holding costs. Your renos, you'd look like $30,000 to $40,000, and again, you'd sell. So you're looking at less than $100,000 potentially in most of those deals out that way. If you're getting into single family flips, you're looking at a much higher cost to get in, especially with the way our market has moved and where prices are now. I've got a client locking down a property in Maple Ridge right now, and all said and done, she's going to be into it for about $200,000 to $250,000, depending on the renos, and that includes holding costs, purchasing costs, and everything like that. So you definitely have to have a little bit more money to be able to purchase these properties and flip them if you're getting into single detached. Again, there's still lots of opportunity in the lower mainland, and if this is going to be your strategy, you can actually make a good business out of this. And I know several of my investors who this is all they do is flipping properties, and they like the quick turn strategy because it continues to have their money grow fast. Now, another strategy you can kind of mix between the two of them, and again, not going too hard on this because we want to keep it as basic as possible, but doing what we call flip to yourself. And this is actually a strategy that a partner and I had actually done a little while ago, back in 2014, where we bought a condo that needed some renovations. We put about $22,000 into renovating it, made it look good again, and we actually refinanced that property and kept it as a rental property. So essentially, we flipped it to ourselves. We put it on private money to originally purchase it because that was the only way we could get it locked under. And when the renovation was done, we forced that value up. We were able to refinance onto an A lender and actually keep that property as a cash flowing property. So that's kind of an example where we call it buy, fix, refinance, and hold or flip to yourself. Another popular option, especially here in the Lower Mainland, is purchasing pre-sale properties and assigning them. So this is essentially, these are properties that are not built yet. They are in the process of being built, or they're in the process of getting their development permits. Predominantly, you see this a lot in condos where people are buying pre-sale condos and then holding on to the paper, essentially, is what it is. We've had the fortunate to be able to sell a lot of these pre-sales to investors, especially in the last couple of years. And the growth in the value has gone up significantly, where our investors are now putting their properties up on the market without actually closing on them, and they're actually assigning those contracts to third parties and making their profit. In some cases, that profit's over $100,000 in 1 year, and all they did was put their 5, 10, 15% deposits down on the property just to reserve it. This is essentially what it is. So this is a great, again, this is a very, it's a little bit of a riskier strategy because, again, it is market dependent. But again, it's a very hands-off strategy. So if you're looking for stuff that's a little more hands-off, you find a good development, you find a good area, you can then lock a property down at today's rates and essentially sell it tomorrow at the increased value. Now, the one thing, though, again, that creates this as a bit of a riskier strategy is if the market does turn or go the other way, that you are locked in on this property, you do have to close. So keeping in mind that having a couple of backup options is always a good idea when purchasing pre-sale properties, such as the ability to close on it if you cannot sell it before completion, and either keep it as a rental, or if it doesn't quite cash flow as a rental, we're finding in the Lower Mainland, furnished rentals are becoming a very popular option. So you could always put some furniture in place and then keep that as a rental property, as a furnished rental, so that you can continue to benefit from that property. And when the time comes that the market is improved, you can actually turn around and put that property on the market and then make your gain. So the last strategy I'm going to talk about today is purchasing multifamily residential. Now, this is a strategy that my partner and I have been shifting into, buying essentially buildings. So anything that's considered 5 units and up would be multifamily residential or multifamily commercial. These properties and this strategy is definitely highly recommend for long-term wealth creation. There's a lot of reasons that you can go into why it's a great strategy. In fact, if you haven't already done so, you can pick up a copy of Real Estate Action 2.0, which is written by Ozzy Jarok and 46 other action takers, where my partner and I actually wrote a chapter on buying multifamily properties and why we like it. Couple of the reasons why you'd want this one for a long-term wealth strategy is, one, you're not going to be picking these properties up and necessarily flipping them in 6 months. You're purchasing them for the long term because you're going to have the fact that you've got multiple units under one roof that's going to be generating income for you over the long term. The second thing is that anytime you can find ways to increase the income of the building, you're actually increasing the value of the building as well. So it doesn't fall under the same kind of general rules of market demand that residential properties fall under. These ones do operate under income principles. So if you can increase the income, you do increase the value. And it's not like a dollar for dollar. It's actually quite a bit higher depending on the cap rate. Again, I'm not going to go into too much details on cap rate and the multiplier effect. But if you pick up Real Estate Action 2.0, you'll get a basic understanding of that through Chapter 13 that Eric Hudson and I had written. So multifamily, again, though, it's not for the faint of heart, I would say. If you're getting into multifamily investing, be prepared to add zeros to everything. You want to do a commercial inspection. You may be paying $500 for a single home, or you're going to be paying $2,500 to $5,000 for a commercial inspection. You're also going to be putting a lot of money out front to be able to determine if you're going to walk away or not. And that's the thing that most people don't understand. With regular residential, when you're purchasing a residential property, most times you're going to go through and find out if you're going to qualify for that mortgage. Then you're going to put some expense into doing things like an inspection. Whereas if you're doing multifamily residential, you're actually going to be putting out possibly at $10,000 or more in inspections and environmental reports and other different appraisals only to find out that maybe the property is not going to work and you need to walk away. This has happened to partners and I, where we've put money into projects and ended up walking away from them, and we're out that money. So again, you got to be willing to put money to walk away from a bad deal if it comes up. So it's not for the faint of heart. I definitely don't recommend getting into multifamily investing if you're very early in the game or you are not comfortable spending money up front to be able to say yes or no to a deal. Again, and then the other thing too is that the lenders are going to require all of these reports anyways, whether they determine or not if they're going to give you the mortgage. So again, not for the faint of heart. Definitely get into the strategy if you have the ability to pick up capital and are willing to walk away from that money if the deal doesn't look as good as it made it originally looked. So these are a few different strategies that you can get into. Again, when it comes to picking your strategy, find one that works for you and stick to that strategy. That's the key in my opinion. Don't jump around between strategies, especially when you're early on in the game. However, once you've got established and you've got a few properties under your belt and you want to maybe change up your strategy, or you see a really, really good opportunity and you understand that opportunity because your base has been built on another strategy, then you can kind of jump around and start picking up other deals and other properties. But until such a time, it's very important not to necessarily try to do all things at once. Don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none. You want to make sure you become an expert in your field, pick up as many properties as you can based on your total timeline and your goal. And then if that decides to change as your life, if your life changes or your strategies decide to change, so be it, you're allowed to do that. Again, I hope this makes sense for everyone here today. I got a lot of consultations where people ask me what strategies they should do. But again, it's really going to come down to where are you at personally. We're going to pick the strategy that's going to get you there as quickly as possible. So again, it might be fix and flip, or it might just be holding properties, or it could be purchasing multifamily. And again, these are only some very basic strategies. There's also some more advanced strategies like wholesaling contracts, rent to own. We're not going to go into too much detail, but again, building that base, you can add those into your repertoire into the future. If anyone has any questions, feel free again anytime, contact me on the Anchor app here. You can leave me a voicemail, or you can hashtag on both Instagram and Twitter, hashtag ManningUpRE to ask me your questions. More than happy to answer any questions live here on the podcast for you guys. Again, if you haven't already connected with me, feel free to hunt me down. I'm on all the social media channels. I'm at Cameron E. Manning on Facebook and Twitter, and at Cam E. Manning at Snapchat and Instagram. So let's connect. Let's talk and see what we can do to help you out with your real estate needs. And also, if you haven't already done so, go visit www.youtube.com/Cameron Manning for more video content on different strategies investing in real estate that helps to expand upon what we've already talked about. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I do appreciate it as always. I hope you guys are having a great summer, and I can't wait to talk to you again in another 2 weeks. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.